Hi everyone, I'm Ewan Jasper and today we're going to be looking at how to do around the world on the hydrofoil. So this is one that a lot of people come up to me and ask about, and one that a lot of people see, and it's just like such a weird looking trick that is something that everyone really wants to have a go at. Going around your kite and having your kite flying upwind of you is something really cool and something that you can't do on anything but a foil. I think I first learned how to do this years ago playing around on the beach. You can run downwind and make your kite do a loop round you in light wind, but I don't think it's really possible, not that I've seen on a twin tip or a surfboard. So yeah, something interesting on the foil and definitely something cool that you can work on the foil in light wind days or whatever conditions you have. So the first thing that makes this trick a lot easier is shorter lines. Shorter lines are something I've been foiling on a lot lately. I just find it a lot more direct in the kite. You can move a lot quicker, you can change angles from upwind to downwind a lot faster, but it is a little bit harder. So to get going, it's a lot harder on the shorter lines. As your wind window is smaller, your power stroke is a lot shorter. So a lot of the time, especially on short lines like 12 meters, you have to actually loop the kite to get going. This kind of gives you a nice pull instantly to get up. Whereas if you just do the conventional dive down the kite from 12 o'clock, you don't really get enough pull to get up on the water unless it's really strong. Also, the shorter lines help you, as you obviously have a smaller distance to travel around the kite. If you have 24 meter lines, technically you'd have to be going 48 meters around your kite, but if you have 12 meter lines, you only need to go 24 meters around your kite. So yeah, you have a lot less time with the kite upwind of you, which is beneficial because the longer the kite's upwind of you, the more chance you have of it dropping out the sky or you losing speed on the foil, which stops apparent wind going the opposite way into the kite to keep it flying. Another thing that also helps this is a really fast foil. A lot of people think, oh, I'll use a surf foil for this, which is also the mistake I made at first, using a big slower foil, because I figured when I start getting the kite around the back of me, you can start pumping to keep speed going on the foil when the kite's not pulling you anymore. But in reality, you're never actually going fast enough to keep the apparent wind in the foil, in the kite, the other side. So you want a fast foil so you can really make the move a lot quicker, and then if you're going downwind faster, you're putting more wind into your kite. It's hard to explain. If you're going downwind, then technically the wind is now blowing into your kite straight upwind. So the idea is that you go faster than the wind. I find the Nash Kite Performance foil really good for this. It's got a lot of speed. It's definitely still a free ride foil, really easy carvy feel, but the main thing that I love about it is that you can really get quite a good top end speed out of it, which you don't get on a lot of free ride foils. You can use any size kite really. I think the idea is that you want your kite to fly around you fast. I've been able to do this move on a 7 meter, a 9 meter and a 10 meter, so I think anything really works. I haven't tried it on the smaller kites, usually on like the 5s and 3s, stuff like that, but I feel like I usually ride them on long lines and just do different stuff. So yeah, I'd say short lines anywhere from kind of 10 to 16, 17 meters. It's going to be a good length to learn this move on. Any longer, it just gets really hard. I think it's doable. I've seen Fred Hope do it on 24 meter lines, I think, but it was more like got around the back and then the kite started drifting, and not like a nice tight line full 360 around the world. So the first thing you want to do is be riding along with plenty of speed. You want to be nicely powered on the foil. Obviously you don't want to be out in 20-25 knots, because to go faster than the wind downwind in 25 knots is quite difficult, and your kite's probably just going to blow back onto you. So I like to do this one in about 13, 14, 15 knots. There's a really nice amount of wind for it. You can get some good power going straight across the wind. You don't want to be going downwind or upwind. I just like to go straight across the wind. And to initiate the move, you pull on a down loop to get some extra speed before going into it. And as you pull the down loop on, you pull it on and then keep it flying to the side, and it starts going around the world. As it's got power here, you want to edge against the kite, so you make the kite fly forward really quickly. and you go really fast downwind. So you're going downwind, the kite's going upwind at full speed. Once you start going downwind and the kite starts going upwind of you, you need to make sure that you're constantly riding in a direction away from the kite that keeps the kite flying forward. So you can't just go straight downwind, because at some point then you're not making the kite fly forward anymore. So you need to start going downwind, and as you start going downwind, you need to start bearing off into the other direction of what you started to keep the kite flying. So if you're going to the left, first you go downwind, and then as your kite's coming around you, you start bearing onto your toe side to go to the right, so the kite keeps flying around you. You basically just keep doing this move until the kite starts catching on the other side, and then as it starts to power up or get closer to the wind again, you'll feel it power up easy, and you keep turning until you're facing the same way again. So basically you do a full 360 as well as the kite. So yeah, to recap, you want to be going really fast across the wind, downloop the kite into the move. As you whip yourself downwind, the kite goes straight upwind, and then you just keep riding away from the kite. You really need to imagine in your head where you need to be riding as opposed to where the kite is in the window. You always need to be at the right spot at the right time. So a few common mistakes people have with this move. First would be, as I mentioned before, using too slow a foil. I find this really difficult. Second would be using too long lines. It makes the wind window far too big, and the area you have to go around the world is just too big. Looping your kite, and as it's coming around behind you, forgetting to steer it to keep it up. Because there's not going to be much wind holding the kite up as it's going around behind you, sometimes you need to actually pull the steering line to keep it up from falling down in the water. This is a common one, that you pull it around the back and it just falls out the sky and dips down behind you. So you want to constantly be pulling the steering line or steering with your bar to keep it out of the water. One thing that helps this is actually, as you downloop the kite, bring it back up, and as it's coming behind you, have it quite high in the sky so it won't dip down and fall in the water too easy. It's nicer if it sits up high, then you've got a lot more room for error, and the window of which the kite needs to go round is then even smaller. To recap, I'd say really find out the best setup for the round the world for you. Obviously there's a lot of different options you can go foiling on. At Nash we have so many different foils. We have surf foils, windsurf foils, downwind foils, obviously the performance kite foils, and they all work for different things, and they all can be fun for so many different things. I find for this one that the performance kite foil, which is nice and fast, and either the boxer or the pivot work really well for me. These kites kind of hold their shape really well. They've got a lot of D-power and drift for foiling, and they fly quite forward fast through the window as well. You want to be on quite short lines, shorter than you usually foil on, but I do recommend giving this a go for your normal foiling as well, as it's really good fun. And yeah, this one just takes a lot of practice, a lot of attempts. You get closer and closer and closer, and you start figuring it out. And it's one that you can really gauge where you're at, because you know how far the kite's come around and you can see how close you are to getting it. And then at the end you'll be able to hopefully do it without touching down on the foil, without the kite touching the water. Stay totally dry and just end up going around the world whenever you want. So I hope you enjoyed this video, hope it gives you something to work on. Let me know in the comments section if there's any more foiling videos that you want tips with, and we'll come out with some more soon.